This is Whole System Change Methods Using Infinity Diagramming and Mind Mapping Processes by Corinne M. Baldwin-Barbridge, a student at Bowling Green University. Whole system collaboration and change is described best by Steve Cady and Kathleen Danmiller in Whole System Transformation. They wrote, "Whole system transformation is more than simply a change that affects the entire system. It means that the entire system is involved in creating itself anew." I will use this presentation as a tool to guide you through my infinity diagramming and mind mapping experience. I will share some of the commonalities I found in the 8 methods of change that I reviewed, as well as how I use the 6 design elements to make those connections. 5 of the methods, appreciative inquiry, chariots, future search, open space, and graphic facilitation, were required to research. In addition to those 5, I chose to learn more about action learning, consensus decision making, and balanced scorecard. I picked these 3 because they were somewhat familiar to me, as I've seen them in action within my organization, and wanted to understand them better. Before beginning this process, I expected that we would find that these methods were very collaborative, full of energy, and maybe a bit less analytical. I was curious to see what methods I would be able to apply immediately into my Libby work world. I began with my analysis by highlighting keywords and triggers while reading. I then moved these keywords and/or ideas into a virtual post-it and real-time board. Once I had those post-its organized, I then moved into the mind mapping project. During the infinity diagram, which is published at the end of this presentation, I noticed some emerging patterns within the methods. It takes buy-in from the entire organization to make change sustainable. It takes having a clear understanding of where you were, where you are, and where you want to be to take that step forward. While diagramming these methods, it really helps to color code the methods and use the 6 design elements as a guide. What I did find to be a challenge was getting out of my own way. I really wanted to use technology to record my findings when I should have just stuck to good old pen and paper. Beyond that, I found the process helpful and the information resonated with me more than if I would have just read through it to get through it. I compared my infinity diagram to my workspace. It is clean, organized, even color-coded. Everything has a place and a label. Whereas the mind map is similar to my boss's desk. There are stacks upon stacks of paper, not nearly as clean-cut, but if you asked him for something, he knows exactly where it's at and can go straight for it. The mind map to me was an organized yet sporadic way of thinking. Keeping with that work analogy, just as my boss and I, the infinity diagram and the mind mapping process complement each other, and the end result is successful. It was easy to take what I created with the infinity diagram to give my mind map a fantastic starting point. As you can see, I use the 6 design elements as my main thought points for my mind map. I then incorporated a who, what, when, and how thinking process and applied those to the 6 elements. From there, thoughts began to flow. I will say again that because I incorporated technology I was unfamiliar with in this process, I did not have time to dig in it as deep as I would have liked to, but nonetheless, I was on my way. Using the 6 design elements as a basis for both my infinity diagram as well as my mind map really helped give me a roadmap for this project. I actually printed out this page and read through each and every question before and after reading each method. This helped guide me in understanding where each method would be applicable in my OD future. Unfortunately, because of my lack of work experience and procrastination starting this assignment, evidence was the most difficult for me to relate to personally. I did think that the journey and model elements overlapped a bit as you were describing your process in the journey and briefly describing it in the model. Beyond that, I thought the 6 elements were useful and a great addition to my OD library. I believe that using a combination of the infinity diagramming and the mind mapping at minimum is an opportunity for the facilitator to visually present collaboration and patterns to a team. For example, in our previous class, Dr. Voss used an infinity diagram exercise to show us the commonalities among the cohort. We shared common fears, thoughts, and ambitions. But without that exercise at that moment, we as a group could have felt alone in our thoughts and feelings. But I believe the exercise gave us a sense of connection. The Change Handbook as well as Game Story Book are great additions and fundamentals for my OD library. I intend on using any one of these tools at the very first opportunity I get. With that being said, at minimum, I will be presenting both books to my digital work team this week as part of our monthly meeting. Our new director of digital has asked each of us to present something we're passionate about. And my hope is with sharing these tools, others in my company will be able to use them. I fully expected to be exposed to new methods and ways of thinking during this assignment. I intended on staying focused on the task at hand and gaining the most from this experience. What actually happened? Life. While I read all the material and watched all the videos, I didn't get a chance to dig in as deep as I would have liked to. I found that I didn't trust the process and I was overanalyzing every move I made. I did learn that I need to let go a bit and stop trying to master each and everything I do and accept that I'm here to learn. As I've already stated, I enjoyed the glimpse into the Change Handbook as well as Game Storming, and I hope not only to use these on future projects, but incorporate them into my living world, wherever that may lead me.